This next section on body condition scoring is going to give us some ideas or thoughts on some things we can do if cows are too thin or if cows are over conditioned. Let's start with the cows that we consider to be thin or under conditioned. Firstly, the thing we're going to focus on is fertility issues. It is critical that we get as many cows pregnant as possible in the first 6 weeks of our breeding season. If we don't get them pregnant to calve in our calving season beginning in February or late January, this may require us to replace her with a heifer. This heifer has been being fed for the last 650 days and hasn't brought any money in yet to us. So we want to try to keep as many cows in the herd as possible and reduce that expense of having to have replacement animals. A thinner cow typically is going to take longer to start cycling or to start displaying heat. In other words, she's going to have probably poor estrus expression. You're not going to see her mounting or standing as often as the cow that was at our target body condition score of a 5.0. Conversely, because she's not cycling as well or as strong of heats, we'll probably have less or reduced submission rates and conception rates. Submission rate is the number of cows that are actually being put up to be bred by the AI technicians divided by the total number of animals. And conception rate is the animals that have actually been put up to be AI'd by the AI techs and the number that become pregnant. And so both of those are really critical to get the number of cows pregnant in the beginning of our calving season. We want a high submission rate. We want a high conception rate. Well, we'll follow up with what we consider to be high when we get into the reproductive sessions. We'll also see if we're not at that 5.0, we're going to see, as we've discussed earlier, we'll see less milk production. And if you think about where a cow's driving her energy first, is energy's always going to go first to the maintenance. She needs to be able to walk, talk, eat, breathe, all those sort of things. So energy's always going to go there first. If it's a growing animal, next it'll go to her growth, and then it will go to milk production, and lastly, reproduction is always last on the totem pole. So we've always got to be thinking about what kind of animal is there that we're talking about. Is it a heifer? Is it a cow? And where is she going to distribute the energy that she's going to need? The other thing to be thinking about as well is where is she at in her lactation? Early on, she's not going to be putting the energy that she has to putting on condition. It's going to go into growth, and it's going to be going to milk yield. Later on in her lactation, that reverses, and she's going to be more apt to want to put condition on versus producing milk. So again, we need to look at the kind of animal we're looking at and where is she at in her lactation. And lastly, in general, thinner cows obviously will tend to lose less weight just because they don't have the condition there. And so again, we just need to evaluate the cow on what she is. So what do we do when that cow is too thin? And there's several things in our arsenal that we can use. Potentially, we could reduce the number of milkings if we're milking 2x. We could sort these thinner animals off and only milk them one time a day, so we're reducing the amount of energy required that's going to require to produce the milk. We could sort the cows off and put them in a separate group and feed them a different diet. We could higher energy based. It could be adding more dry matter intake offered to the animal. So we're trying to get her to go from that 4.0 to that target of 5.0. Really thin animals, we could actually consider drying them off. Now this is a double-edged sword, and if you actually below that, if you look at lactating cows are 30 to 40% more efficient in putting condition or gaining weight uh, when compared to the dry cow. And if you look at the table down there that comes from Australia, in the Jersey, the lactating cow requires 49 more megajoules in a 30-day period to increase one body condition score. So it takes 49 more energy units to put on a condition score compared to the dry cow that's taking 67 more energy units. And when you factor that out over uh, the 30 days, that's over 500 more energy units that are going to be required. So it's costing us more feed, around probably 1.5 kilograms to 2 kilograms a day for that dry cow compared to the cow that's lactating. So we need to balance out what we need to do, of whether we reduce milking, we dry them off, but that could potentially require more feed to get them to our desired target. Cows that are over conditioned or fat, the big thing we got to be concerned about them is just make sure we maintain condition. We don't want them gaining any more, obviously, because that's going to exacerbate other problems, and we don't want them to lose weight either, because that can cause some other health issues. And that's mostly the problem that we have with over-conditioned cows is going to be metabolic health calving issues, milk fever, difficulty in calving, fatty liver. They could be ketotic, and probably we get back to the fertility thing again. In general, these over-conditioned cows are going to lose more weight, so they're going to lose more than a body condition score. They're pulling all that weight off their back to produce milk, and again, that loss of more than a body condition score is going to have fertility impacts. So what are we going to do? We've kind of talked about this. When the cow is over-conditioned, we want to certainly try to just maintain her. We don't want her gaining more. We don't want her losing weight. We don't want to force her to lose weight. We need to have a plan in place for these overconditioned cows. Be keeping a closer eye on them because they may have health issues at calving or within 1 to 2 weeks after calving. Just need to keep a closer eye on them. And again, because they're overconditioned, they tend to lose more than a body condition score. So we need to be aware of that and just try to keep them where they're not losing more than that so that we don't have those fertility issues.